You don't get to demand anything from me. My body. My choice. That's what my wife said. 5 weeks into our marriage. She hadn't touched me once. Not a kiss. Not a hand on mine. Not even a goodnight hug. We'd shared vows. We'd shared a name. But we hadn't shared a single moment of closeness since the day we said I do. It wasn't about consent. It wasn't about fear. It was about control. Her voice didn't shake when she said it. Her eyes didn't blink. She wasn't angry. She was indifferent. Cold. That's what cut the deepest. We dated for over a year, lived together for 6 months, laughed, shared secrets, made love. At least I thought we did. Turns out it was all calculated. A performance, a setup, a lie wrapped in warmth and promises. And the man she thought was too kind, too patient, too naive to fight back. He listened. He documented. He remembered. So if you're watching this, if you've ever given your heart to someone who used it as leverage, this story is for you. And if you think truth still matters, if you believe silence can be broken, hit that subscribe button. Because stories like this aren't fiction. They're warnings. My name is Ethan Blake. I'm 34. I teach 8th grade history in Nashville, Tennessee. I believe in truth, in small moments, in the kind of love that doesn't just look good in photos, but shows up on hard days. My dad died when I was 19. Heart attack, no warning. He was the kind of man who kissed my mom goodbye every morning, even when they fought the night before. That kind of man. After he passed, I stopped believing in happy endings. But I never stopped believing in effort, and maybe in someone who might choose me even when I had nothing left to impress them. So I worked, I taught, I paid off my loans, I built a simple life, a quiet apartment, a routine that made sense. And then I met Alyssa. She was smart, grounded, the kind of woman who didn't fill silence with noise. She listened. She smiled like it cost something, and that made it worth everything. We met at a district training for educators. She worked as a school counselor. She understood kids like I did, the broken ones, the angry ones, the ones who just needed one safe adult. We talked over cheap coffee. We laughed at bad cafeteria food. And somewhere between the budget meeting and that second refill, I thought maybe she's it. I didn't need fireworks. Just someone real. Someone honest. Someone who meant the words I do. Alyssa Green wasn't flashy. She didn't need to be. She had a presence like quiet water. Still, but deep. She spoke with purpose. Laughed like she wasn't used to it. Listened with eyes that made you feel heard. At first I thought she was just shy. Introverted. Maybe even guarded. But I liked that. Not every good thing needs to be loud. Not every woman needs to overshare. She told me she'd grown up in Kentucky. Single mom, tough home, earned everything on her own. She believed in structure, in boundaries, in building stability. We had that in common, sort of. She'd say things like, love is just one part of the equation. Security is underrated. I thought she meant emotional safety. I thought it was deep. I thought it was us. When she moved in, she brought 2 boxes, books, bills. She wanted to split rent exactly. Groceries too, no joint account. Said it was healthier. I admired her independence. She called it equal footing. I called it respect. We didn't talk about rings for a while. She said she wasn't in a rush, but the moment I proposed, she said yes, like she'd already decided before I asked. Now I realized she had. For the first year, everything felt right. She met my mom, brought wine to Sunday dinners, helped wash the dishes without being asked. She came to school events, sat in the back of my classroom during the open house, smiled at my students like she cared. We binge-watched true crime, argued over documentaries, laughed until we forgot why we were even watching. She had a quiet way of fitting into my life, like a missing piece I didn't know was missing. When I got sick, she made soup from scratch, left little notes on the bathroom mirror. Rest, you matter. I felt lucky, blessed even. She didn't demand attention. She didn't play games. She gave space when I needed it and showed up when I didn't even ask. We moved in together the following summer. Her idea. She said it was time. The first month living together was smooth. Routines aligned, no tension, no drama. And when I finally asked her to marry me, she didn't cry, didn't squeal. She just smiled. soft, certain. I'd love to. It was calm, adult, grounded. And I thought, this is how real love feels. Quiet, steady, safe. I thought I found a life partner. Turns out, I found a strategist. We got married on a Saturday. Late September, cool breeze, blue skies, not a single cloud. St. Mark's Church, where my parents said their vows. Small guest list. Close friends, family, no drama. She looked beautiful. Simple white dress, no veil, no big speech. Just one sentence during her vows, I promise to be your partner. In all things. Not I love you. Not forever, just partnership. I didn't think much of it at the time. Thought she was just nervous. Or maybe trying to be different. We skipped the honeymoon. She said work was busy. Said we could plan something later. The first night at home, she went straight to the guest room. Said she was exhausted. Wanted space. I slept alone, but I smiled. Told myself she just needs time. Week 1 passed. Then week 2, 3. No kiss, no handheld. Not even a good night from across the hall. When I asked gently if she was okay, she said, "Don't push me. My body, my choice." The first time she said it, I froze. It wasn't angry, it wasn't emotional. It was mechanical, practiced, like she'd said it before, to someone else, in another situation. And I remember thinking, that didn't sound like a reaction. It sounded like a strategy. The second time she said it, we were at my mom's house for dinner. I reached for her hand under the table. She pulled away barely, whispered without looking at me, "My body, my choice." The third time, we were brushing our teeth. I leaned in. Just a kiss, nothing more. She turned, stared in the mirror, didn't blink. "My body, my choice," again. Same tone, same timing. Like a script, like a firewall, not between us but around her. Every gesture I made an invitation shut down. Every moment that should have been soft became cold. By week 4, we didn't speak unless it was logistical. Groceries, bills, schedules. No, good morning. No, how was your day? Just don't forget to take the trash out. You're low on toothpaste. She started locking the guest room door. Wouldn't eat dinner with me. Took phone calls in the hallway. Always whispered. Always turned away. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't depression. It was distance. Deliberate. Calculated. And that phrase, once a symbol of autonomy, now felt like a blade. Not protecting her body, but cutting me out of my own marriage. We split everything. Rent, utilities, groceries, down to the cent. She tracked her half in a shared spreadsheet. If I bought dinner, she Venmo'd me her exact portion. No tip, no rounding. At first I called it independent, responsible, fair. But marriage isn't a transaction. Or at least it shouldn't be. When I offered to cover more because I made more, she said, "I'm not your dependent. I'm your equal." Equal didn't feel like partnership. It felt like a contract, with fine print I never saw. She never asked how my day was, never asked why I looked tired, or why I stared too long at nothing. When I mentioned wanting kids someday, she blinked twice and said, "We'll see," then changed the subject. She made her own meals, kept her favorite snacks hidden in her nightstand, would leave the apartment for hours without a word. Once, I found a post-it on the fridge out with friends. "Don't wait up, no name, no time, just cold ink." I started to feel like a tenant, like I'd signed a lease, not a marriage license. I wasn't being loved, I was being tolerated. And the worst part, she didn't even pretend anymore. I met up with Jason one Friday after work. Old friend. We taught at the same school before he moved districts. He ordered beer, looked at me a little too long before speaking. "How's married life?" I hesitated. He noticed. "Not what you expected, huh?" I told him the basics. Nothing too personal, just the silence, the cold. Jason leaned back, took a sip, then said something I'll never forget. "She's doing what she said she would." I blinked. "What do you mean?" He glanced around, lowered his voice. "When Alyssa worked at my campus, we had this meeting once. She said something that stuck with me. I waited, heart picking up speed. She said marriage is the best way to stabilize your life without giving up control. At the time, I thought it was just clinical. Now it sounds like a business plan. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, staring at the condensation on my glass. Jason added, "She's not a bad person, but she's not in it the way you are." We parted with a hug. He didn't say good luck. He said, be smart, man. And for the first time, I wondered if I'd been anything but. I sat on the edge of our bed. Same one I'd picked out last spring. Firm support, soft top. Like I thought marriage should feel. The room was dark. Guest room door locked, again. I looked around. 2 toothbrushes, 2 sets of keys, 2 names on the lease. But no trace of us. Not really. Her scent didn't linger. Her voice didn't echo. Her presence never filled the space. It just existed beside mine. I thought about the vows, the way she said partnership, how she skipped love, skipped cherish. I remembered her smile when I proposed. Polite, measured, almost rehearsed. Was any of it real? Was I just a stepping stone? I replayed old moments, little things. The time she asked if I believed in prenups just 2 months in. The way she always called our place the apartment, never our home. How she never posted photos of us, only work wins and self-care Sundays. I wanted to scream, to break something, but all I could do was sit in the quiet and realize maybe she never lied with words. She just told the truth by withholding everything else. And I was too hopeful to hear the silence. It hit me in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep. Again. I was on the couch. Same spot where we'd shared pizza and wine during our first month living together. And suddenly, a memory surfaced. Premarital counseling with Pastor Wilkins, sessions every Thursday night for 6 weeks. I remembered him asking, do you mind if I record these strictly for notes? We both signed the consent form. She didn't hesitate. At the time, I didn't think twice. Who cares about a few recordings when you're in love? Now I cared. Desperately. The next morning, I called Pastor Wilkins during my lunch break. Voice shaking. Words clipped. Do you still have those files? There was a long pause. Ethan, is everything all right now? And that's why I need them. He was quiet, then said, they're archived. I keep them for 6 months. You're still within that window. I exhaled, felt my chest tighten. Not from fear, from clarity. That night, I didn't confront her. Didn't ask another question. I just sat at the kitchen table with a yellow legal pad and started writing down everything I remembered her saying. Because if she'd been honest, even once, this marriage wouldn't exist. But if she hadn't, I was about to prove it. Pastor Wilkins met me in his office the next afternoon. He didn't smile, didn't ask questions, just handed me a flash drive and said, I hope this helps you find peace. I waited until midnight, plugged it into my laptop, headphones in, heart racing. The first few minutes were warm. We joked, laughed, said things people say when they think no one will ever replay it. Then session 3. Pastor asked, what do you want most from marriage, Alyssa? She answered, I want stability, a foundation, something secure so I can focus on my career. He pushed gently, an emotional connection. Her pause was long, then, I've never really needed that, not in the way most people do. I froze. She continued, physical affection feels performative to me. I can manage it while dating, but in marriage I don't want to keep acting. My stomach dropped. Session 5 was worse. He asked about expectations after the wedding. She said, I'll probably need my own space. Separate room. I'll set that boundary early. When he asked, have you told Ethan? She laughed. Soft, dry. He'll figure it out. He's gentle, adaptable. That's why I chose him. I pressed pause. Sat there. Silent. She didn't pick me because she loved me. She picked me because I wouldn't fight back. The next morning, I called an attorney, Janet Ellis. She'd helped me with my dad's estate years ago. Smart, blunt, no time for drama. I laid it out. The silence, the separation, the recordings. She listened without interrupting. Then said, Ethan, this isn't a marriage. This is misrepresentation, possibly fraud. She explained in Tennessee an annulment can be granted if one party enters marriage under false pretenses. If she never intended physical or emotional partnership and hid that deliberately, that qualifies. I emailed her the recordings. She replied within an hour. All we need is a judge with ears. We filed the petition Friday morning. Grounds intentional deception. Request full annulment, return of gifts, legal fees covered. That night, I printed the paperwork. Waited at the kitchen table. When Alyssa came home, I handed it to her. She scanned it, then looked at me. Expression flat, voice even. You're doing this over sex. I didn't flinch. This isn't about sex, it's about lies. Her mouth tightened. She set the papers down like they were junk mail. You'll never win, she said. You can't prove intent. I leaned forward, calm, certain. Actually, I can, and your voice is going to prove it for me. She didn't speak, didn't blink. The game had changed. And this time I wasn't playing by her rules. The next day, she lawyered up. She didn't yell, didn't cry, just said my attorney will be in touch. She moved fast, filed a counterclaim alleging emotional coercion, said I was punishing her for exercising bodily autonomy. She was building a narrative one the world's heard before. Man can't handle rejection. Man turns bitter. Man uses courts to control. It was smart. It was strategic. It was cold. Her lawyer sent over a statement, accused me of weaponizing therapy recordings to retaliate against a woman who simply didn't want to be touched. I read every word, then sent them the full audio files, unedited, time-stamped. Her voice, her words, her intentions crystal clear. Janet filed a response the same day, included transcripts, highlighted lines. Marriage is security, not love. I'll create space. He won't push. I chose him because he won't fight. We didn't argue character. We presented evidence. We didn't attack her choices. We revealed her plan. When her lawyer tried to delay the hearing, the judge refused. And the night before court, Alyssa knocked on my door, wearing the necklace I gave her the day I proposed. She brought takeout, smiled like nothing happened. I think we can fix this, she whispered. I'll be the wife you wanted. I looked at her and saw a deal on two legs. Too little, too late, too exposed. Monday morning, downtown courthouse. Cold rain, gray sky. She showed up in a beige suit, hair curled, makeup flawless, like an actress ready for closing arguments. Her lawyer opened first, spoke about autonomy, boundaries, a woman's right to withhold consent, said I was bitter, controlling, embarrassed, that this case wasn't about fraud, but male entitlement. Then Janet stood up, didn't argue feelings, didn't quote philosophy. She played the recordings. Alyssa's voice filled the courtroom. Not angry, not scared, just calculated. I chose him because he won't push. I don't believe in physical marriage. He'll adapt. He's soft. The judge didn't move, didn't blink. She let the clip finish, then asked one question. Mrs. Carter, do you deny saying these things? Alyssa's mouth opened, but her attorney touched her arm. Silence. The ruling came fast. Annulment granted. Grounds intentional deception. All wedding gifts returned. Legal fees hers. Record sealed but not forgotten. As we left the courtroom, she looked at me. Tears balanced but never fell. I didn't think you'd actually fight, she whispered. I didn't answer. Didn't look back. Because finally, for the first time in months, I wasn't the one left in silence. 3 weeks later, Alyssa moved out. No goodbye, no apology, just a silent elevator ride and a key left on the counter. Word spread fast. Not because I told anyone, but because truth leaks where lies used to live. At her office, parents started requesting other caseworkers. Whispers followed her down the halls. Cold professionalism turned into suspicion. Her supervisor called her in. Maybe it's time for a role with less public interaction. 2 months later, she transferred departments. 6 after that, she resigned. No wedding photos, no name change, no reputation left untouched. I got the annulment. But more than that, I got clarity. Because justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it walks in wearing a black robe, presses play on a recording, and lets the truth do the heavy lifting. Alyssa didn't lose everything. She kept her career degree, her savings, her image in circles that didn't know better. But what she lost was the one thing she tried to fake: credibility. And that's the kind of loss you can't sue your way out of. Because when your entire life is built on strategy instead of sincerity, all it takes is one honest moment to bring it down. I used to think love was about understanding, about patience, about giving people time to open up. But now I know it's also about honesty, not just with each other, but with yourself. Because when someone shows you who they really are, even in fragments, you better believe them. I confused silence with depth, guardedness with integrity, indifference with strength. What I got was a woman who never wanted a husband, just a contract. And the worst part, I handed her the pen. But here's the thing about truth. It doesn't care how calm the liar sounds. It just waits. And when it finally speaks, everything false starts to fall apart. Now, I don't hate Alyssa. Not really. I pity her. Because a life built on strategy is a lonely one. Eventually, you run out of people willing to be part of your plan. To anyone listening, if something feels off, don't silence that voice. If you've been gaslit into doubt, you're not alone. This channel is for stories like this. Stories that sting but shine a light. If you've made it this far, hit that subscribe button. Share your truth. Someone out there needs to hear it. And remember, revenge doesn't always look like fire. Sometimes it just sounds like proof.